There's this ancient idea that every single one of us has this incredible hidden potential inside. They call it a seed of awakening, basically a built-in capacity for total liberation, just waiting for the right moment, the right conditions to finally start growing. So let me ask you something. What if that's not just some nice philosophical idea? What if it's a real, tangible part of who you are? What if you have this seed inside you, right now, as you're listening to this? Well, that's what we're going to dive into. What this seed is and what it actually takes to make it flourish. So, in the ancient texts, this potential is called Gotra. Probably the best way to think of it is like your spiritual DNA. It's the blueprint for enlightenment that's already there. See, it's not something you go out and get, it's a quality you've had from the very beginning. This Gotra is absolutely fundamental. It's the direct link to nirvana. Without it, the whole journey, it just wouldn't even be possible. Okay, but that brings up a huge question, right? If we all have this incredible potential, this seed that can lead to nirvana, then why are so many of us still feeling stuck? Why are we caught in these cycles of suffering? Basically, why hasn't the seed sprouted yet? Well, according to these teachings, it's not just random chance or bad luck. There are actually very specific obstacles, hindrances, that are actively keeping that seed buried deep down, stopping it from getting the light and the water it really needs to grow. And what's interesting is how down-to-earth these hindrances are. First, you've got an unfavorable birth. That just means being born in a place or a time where you can't even get access to these teachings. Simple as that. Then there's heedlessness, which is, being so distracted by everyday life and pleasures that you don't even realize there's a problem to solve. Wrong views are beliefs that actually point you in the complete opposite direction of the path. And finally, you have obstacles, which can be anything from mental fog to the heavy weight of past actions. So it's these four things that are the main culprits keeping our potential dormant.
All right, so if we know what stops the seed from growing, then that must mean we can figure out what helps it grow, right? And the answer is a big yes. But it's not a mystery. It takes a very specific set of conditions to cultivate this seed.
You see, the path isn't about just one magic bullet. It's about creating an entire ecosystem for growth. And this is broken down into two main types of conditions. You've got superior conditions, which are kind of like the direct, powerful catalysts that spark awakening. And then you have the supporting conditions. And these are the essential groundwork, the foundation that makes everything else possible. So let's talk about those powerful catalysts first. There are two of them, and they're like a perfect 1-2 punch. One external, one internal. The first is external. Hearing the real Dharma, the true teachings from someone who knows what they're talking about. And the second is internal. You have to then take those teachings and really think about them, reflect on them, and make them your own. It's that combination that really gets things moving. But here's the thing. Those powerful conditions won't do much good if the soil isn't fertile. And that is exactly where the supporting conditions come into play. The texts break this foundation down into two sets of 5 perfections. One set is all about you, and the other is about the world around you. Let's start with the personal stuff, the 5 self-perfections. This includes, first, just having a human life to begin with. Then, being born in a place where the teachings are actually available. You also need to have your mind and body working well enough to learn. And on top of that, you need a certain kind of openness or faith in the path, and to be free from any really heavy karmic baggage. And I mean, when you stop and think about it, having all 5 of these things line up perfectly, well, that's considered incredibly rare and precious. It's like having the perfect launch pad for the journey to nirvana. Then you've got the external factors, the other perfections. It's not enough for just you to be ready, the world has to be ready too. This means a Buddha has actually appeared and taught the Dharma. Those teachings have to have survived and still be around. There needs to be a community of people actually practicing and keeping the teachings alive, and that community needs support to keep going. When your personal situation and the world around you align like this, well, the stage is perfectly set. So let's recap. The seed is there, we understand the things that can block it, and now the perfect conditions are in place. So what happens next? This is the moment where all that potential finally turns into actual active practice. This critical moment actually has a name. It's called Adakranti, or Shunyuru, which basically just means entry. This is that exact instant when a person who has the Gotra seed finally runs into all these perfect conditions and something clicks. They generate real, genuine faith. And this isn't just a passive belief. This is the active starting pistol for the entire journey. The seed has finally broken through the soil. And just to be clear, we're talking about a long-term project here. That entry moment, That marks the first lifetime of practice. From there, you move into the maturing stage, where you spend subsequent lifetimes cultivating everything you need. And then finally, you reach the matured stage. That's the last lifetime, where nirvana is at last within your grasp.
We could actually break this down even more. Think of it like a map of different practitioners. You start with the capable. That's someone who has the seed but just hasn't started the path yet. Then you get the lower, middle, and upper grades, which line up with that initial entry, the long journey of making progress, and finally getting to that last lifetime. From there, you have the final practice, which is that last big push, and finally, reached the ultimate. That's the goal line, full enlightenment.
So when you put all of this together, you can see that this ancient text, it's not just talking about some abstract theory. It's literally handing us a detailed blueprint, a map of the entire spiritual journey, from a tiny, latent seed of potential all the way to complete liberation. And there's this one quote from the text that just sums up the whole point perfectly. It says that the teachings exist to guide those who have not yet entered to enter, to help those who are not yet mature to mature, and to help those who are not yet purified to become purified. It's basically a promise of support for every single stage of the journey. So now you've seen the map. You know about the seed that you have, the obstacles you might run into, the conditions you need to create, and the stages of the journey ahead. Really, the only question left is, where do you see yourself on this map? And what's your next step going to be to help that seed of awakening grow?